So today we have the Callaway Paradym X. What an absolute monster. So 27.5 degrees the 7-iron is. So you'd like to think that would go like an absolute rocket. It is a remake of the X12 X14. As soon as I picked it up, I saw the X12 X14 all over it. It is a traditional Callaway iron, hence the name. They've gone back, stripped it back, whacked a load of technology in it, whacked down the loft, and just going for absolute power. So I've got the Mizuno, the Ping, and the Taylor to compare it against. The main key numbers when buying these sets, these power sets, is the launch, the backspin, and the distance. So you've got to be getting some distance, but the launch and the backspin have got to be working correct so you can stop that ball. But there'll be a limit, so it's got to make sure you can get that launch on that iron. If you can't, then it'll be nose diving into the ground, you'll be losing distance. But you can always buy the set and stop at the 6-iron and then go through to your hybrids. Right, so let's give this a bash, see what it feels like, see what it performs like, and compare against these other three. Now this should go further than all the other three. I mean 27.5, this should go like an absolute monster. So I should be hitting this 170 something, easy, no problem. So right, so what's the first one? Carry 179 yards, launch 19.9, backspin 2,395. That is not high enough, that is going to hit the ground. That's like a driver backspin number. So normally I'm around like 5,000 coming in, that is going to hit the ground running, and that's with a 7-iron. So it's gone like an absolute monster, 179 yards, so that's great. That's how you've got to judge it in regards that it's really gone out there, it's gone quite far. So I've hit that one quite well, that felt nicely out the middle. So when you're comparing a club, when you're comparing something against something else, you've got to make sure it's a comparable shot, that you've actually hit it in the middle when you're comparing it to two centre shots. You compare two toe shots off the bottom, just got to be comparable. Can't have an apple against a banana, it's just not unfair. So that one's carried 170, launched 20, backspin, because I struck it better, it's gone up, so that's gone up to 3,100. So we'll do one more. So the distance on that's quite, so you've got to think that's carry, so I'm going to be hitting that into a 180 yard flag. So after that, I could quite easily get a number 4 hybrid. I could sneak in maybe the 6-iron, but I definitely won't need a 5-iron, like 100%. The distance I'm getting there, I've got to back end the wedges to get the right sequence on the way through. It feels right off the face. I don't like the feel, to be honest. It feels good out in the middle. The off-centre hits, I'm not so sure about. I have hit some. To warm up, I use the iron. I wasn't that impressed with the feel, to be honest. Out the middle, good as gold. Obviously, it's got a lot about it. It will fly down there. So if you want some distance, then this is just an absolute monster, like I said. Look behind the ball. Does look good behind the ball. It's got that X12, X14 look about it. So if you're a traditional Callaway person, then that's good. It's just a bit more shiny. That's all. I whacked a bit of tunks in there. There's loads of technology in there, which if you're going to bring out a new club, there's going to be new technology, isn't there? So I said, if you've got a certain generation of a club, if it's 4 or 5 generations old, it will perform better. So you've only got to look at TVs and phones over a certain generation. There is a big difference. If you're looking at, say, an iPhone, you're looking at iPhone 12, 13, 14, hardly any difference between them. If you look at iPhone 7 to the latest one, there's a huge difference. So it's similar to that. So as a club, I think it's all right. It's definitely worth putting in the mix between the ones I've tested so far. So put in the Mizuno, put in the Ping, and put in the Taylor, put in the Callaway, and then you've got a good selection. Similar sort of price points, very aggressive lofts. So if you're looking for some distance, I think the Taylor popped it up quite nicely. The Ping, I feel they've improved the feel and it was quite a good flight on the ball. The Mizuno did quite well on distance. The Callaway's out-hit it, but then it's a more aggressive loft and should out-hit it. So, quite personal preference, but it's the loft. It's the loft, man. You've got to get the right, check that out. If you can get launch on the ball, get the right backspin, then you're flying. But just get it in sync with those hybrids. So that was a miss hit, a little bit fat, but it's still done alright. So forgiveness wise, that was, you know, it's alright, it's definitely okay. Like I said, very personal preference, but the main thing you've got to check out, launch angle, backspin, and then the distance that you're getting from it, and put it in sync with those hybrids. So as a Callaway, as a rating, I'd put it in the mix. Personally, it's not for me, but I'd put it in the mix between those four, and I think that's the top four you should look at.